Hello, I'm Dr. Gareth Moore and I'm a puzzle and brain training author. And in fact, I've written all of these books here. But this video is not about my puzzles, it's about this, the Exit the Game Advent Calendar full of puzzles for 2023, The Silent Storm. And this follows on from their two previous puzzle advent calendars, which I've solved the previous 2 years, The Hunt for the Golden Book and The Mystery of the Ice Cave, which you can find links to up there for my previous solves. But I am very excited therefore, because those are excellent, about starting the one for 2023 here. So let's get going. Right, and the first thing I can see is it says level beginner on the front. We'll see how accurate that turns out to be. What does it say on the back? The escape room at home experience. The Christmas workshop has never been busier. For more than 2 months you've been working hard, so everything on the 24th will be ready on time. As one of the chief toy makers in the workshop, you have your hands full. You were working hard, testing out a particularly beautiful rocking horse, when suddenly the ground begins to tremble. A violent storm lashes the building, and snow begins to billow in through the window. Hastily you close it, and then notice a terrible silence has fallen over the workshop. Something is not right. When you hear all the doors click locked, you feel very alone. It is clear you need to find Santa, but first you have to find a way out of here. Wow, let's have a look at various things we're going to find inside the calendar. 24 doors with 49 riddle cards, strange items and additional secret material, a storybook, a help book, and a decoder table here, which we'll use to check whether our puzzles are solved correctly. So I guess the first thing to do is to take off all this shrink wrap. So here we go, let's take all this shrink wrap off and see what is inside the box. So is it a slip sleeve or is it it's a lid? Oh, and the stuff inside is going to fall out as soon as I open it. There we go. So it's pretty similar to previous years. There is a, yes, there is a help book and game instructions, and inside that I can see there is some strips, so I'm going to have to cut them off and slide them in to make a decoder. And then here is the storybook, which we probably take a page of each day based on previous years. Right, let's have a look inside, and there we go. It's an advent calendar, lots of doors that you can press out. Then the first thing you probably notice is there are no numbers. Well, apart from by here I see there's a 1, that must be door 1. But after that, it's up to you to work out where each door is. Because when you solve a puzzle, you get given a series of directions to find the next door, and a code to check that it matches, which is how you know if you've solved the puzzle correctly. Then you write the number on for the next day and you open that the following day. And then at the top there's a picture here, and I see there are some words in bold, like 3 and D here, and obviously some objects which may be, well, are sure to be relevant at some point. So there we go. That is the calendar. I don't see anything else. Obviously secret written on it, but I might be missing something. Right, so let's see what we've got. Here's the storybook, here are the help book and game instructions. And it says start by reading here, so I guess it would be impolite not to. So, okay, there's an advert for the previous 2 calendars I've solved. Game instructions. What's the game about? An earthquake shakes the Christmas workshop, closely followed by a violent blizzard. A short time later, you notice the doors are firmly locked. What is happening? You must go in search of Santa Claus, but to reach him, you face one of 24 challenging riddles every day. The correct solution tells you where to continue on the next day. Right, okay. So it confirms the game material we've got. Let's see what's on the next page. Game setup. This tells me to assemble a decoder strip here, which I will do in a moment. And I will explain how that works when we get to it. Oh, some symbols on the back of it this year by the look of it. Oh yes, they are surely going to be relevant for some puzzles. And then additional game materials. You need pens and so forth. A torch. Oh, interesting. A strong light. Remember that. Maybe it'll come in one day. Useful. We have to shine through a bit of paper or something. Right, and I think this just explains how to go about solving the calendar, which I think I already know. Yes, and we can explain this as we go. Right, so I think this just explains how to use the decoder, which I will explain when we get to it rather than in advance. And it tells you that there are first, second clues and solutions you can take for each puzzle. Right, now what do we do? When does the game end? The game ends when you've solved the last riddle and solved the mystery of the silent storm. A hint will let you know, and then you may read the closing chapter in the storybook. Otherwise, what are you waiting for? Here we go. Take the storybook, turn to the first page, start the prologue. The first riddle starts on the calendar page marked 1st of December. I don't mind if I do. Here we go. Exit the game, advent calendar, the silent storm. For 1 player or 1 team, 10 years and up. Right, okay, some adverts. And then here we go. Introduction. Right, I've now read this. Basically, it says you are at Santa's workshop at the South Pole, with a little asterisk saying very few people remember when the Christmas workshops were located at the South Pole, though Santa Claus does occasionally talk about this. And then, all of a sudden, there's a big rums, which is an unusual word I've not come across before. A tremendous vibration hits the building, the stuff falls everywhere. and there's a violent snowstorm that comes out of nowhere. So it says you duck back to your workbench and protect yourself while everything falls all around you, and the other employees and your colleagues run around in a mad panic. What has happened? Was that an earthquake? What should we do? And so on. And then Benno, an older colleague, comes up to you and reminds you you are the company's safety officer. What a reveal. Gosh, that's correct. You had completely forgotten. Normally your task doesn't consist of much, but now you are going to have to look after everyone. We have to prevent panic from breaking out here in the corridors, he tells you. Shall I take the others to the staff room in the basement? You should look for the boss, I presume that's Santa, and find out what's going on. You nod uneasily and watch, stunned as your colleague shepherds the staff in the direction of the stairs. And as he leaves, he turns to you, and this is the key bit. Remember that in a few minutes, the lock-in mechanism will kick in. Good luck! So as you rush back to your table and look at the worn plan of the workshop, what is the quickest way to Santa's office? You look across the floor plan and are amazed at how large the building is. So many rooms. But then, what did Benno actually mean by lock-in mechanism? Words don't mean anything to you until you dimly remember a safety training course where there was a talk of emergency situations in which all the doors of the workshop would automatically lock. And there would be hidden clues in each room with which to open the doors again. Sounds like a great mechanism for an advent calendar. It was some kind of safety precaution and you just had to know how to read the clues. However, this has never happened before. Perhaps it's just a made-up story. It then says, Christmas can be a big disappointment unless you sort things out. So you take a deep breath and get ready. Now here we go, the 1st of December. And it tells you to tear these pages out. So who am I to refuse the instructions of the calendar? Right, so what have we got here? We've got some keys that are different colours and have different coloured strings attached to them. And they've got numbers on perhaps. This looks a bit like a 3 there. I'm not sure if the others do. This perhaps is a 2 or 5 in some sense. And that might be, I have no idea what that is actually. Recently, various employees have left their ID cards lying around. If anyone finds one, please don't throw it away. And then at the top, foods to calm your nerves, code from big to small. Okay, and then some text that tells you about today. The door to the pantry is slightly open. Heart pounding, you enter the room. Apparently you're thinking of your stomach first. Once inside, you falter and catch your breath. You had expected that the storm and earthquake would have messed things up in here, but the scene in front of you exceeds your fears. Many of the shelves that normally hold supplies have slipped or fallen from their fixings. Lying on the floor is a mess of broken glass mixed in with squished and spilled food. What a sight! And then it says, while you're looking at the scene, the door slams shut behind you. It must be true, not a made-up story. Speaking of supplies, you decide to quell the burgeoning panic, good word, with something sweet. Foods to calm your nerves. Your eyes wander over the broken shelves. You are happy to see that the jars with your favourite sweets are still intact. Well, that is a good omen. As you take one of the jars off the shelf, you find your colleague Rudy's employee ID card behind it. He obviously has a weakness for these sweets and left his ID card here while secretly snacking. You tuck it away. When all the fuss is over, you'll give it back. But first of all, get to the sweets. And here we go with the first puzzle. Now open door 1, behind which you will find 6 riddle cards A1 to A6. But before we go any further, I am going to assemble the decoder table. I couldn't think of the word. It's handily written there for me. And what I know I need to do is cut these strips from the top and slide them through the correct holes. Because when I solve a puzzle, each puzzle in the calendar will result usually in a 3-digit number. And what you have to do is create that 3-digit number through the center slots of the decoder table, then turn it over. Because on the back there will be certain symbols selected by this middle column, and they will tell you which door to open next. Right, so that's the decoder table assembled, and I will explain exactly how to use it when we come to need it. Right, let's go back to the box and open it up, and here we go with day 1. Are you ready? So there's a tab here, and I push it open. There we go. So there is a picture of a mouth with an arrow pointing at the ton on the back of the door. Whether we need that today, I don't know. So there's the inside of the pantry. There's some cards, which we'll look at in just a moment. And in the pantry, we see some shells, some pumpkins. Over this side, what do we see? I'll hold that out of the way. Some bits and pieces, some potatoes perhaps. There is some stuff on the floor, which may be relevant. Some stars, a candy cane and so forth. And then over here, perhaps it's just matching a story. There's a heart decoration, or is it a sweet? Some more stuff on the shelves and... Ooh, I thought there was something on the roof there, but I think that's actually just a light. Right, let's have a look at the cards we've got as well. So we have an employee ID card for Rudy Michael Carl Hammer. Nice name. Department of Wooden Toys, and it says on the badge he is department head. Okay. And then we've got some other cards that are sweets. Okay. quite a lot of sweets. 5 jars of sweets, that's a lot of sweets. And they all have different locks on them, and they have different amounts of sweets in them. So I kind of guess the amount of sweets give you a sort of ordering. I mean, whether that's useful, I don't know. Probably not, because it says on the original puzzle sheet from big to small. So I imagine that probably we're just using the locks. So do some of these lock shapes match the jars, and I'll be just opening those jars, and then we're converting them to numbers somehow, possibly by looking at the shapes. Also, where do the yellow, purple, green come in? On our decoder we've assembled, there are no yellow, purples, green, so we can't put those directly into an answer. Although there may be yellow, purple, green somewhere else on the calendar we can use to convert colours to numbers. But for now, let's see if we can work out which keys we have. So this key here has got a circle in the middle of it, and the only one that matches is this. So this must be the first key, and it does look like the other shapes probably match here. And then this key here has what looks like a 3 off to the side. So we've got one that looks like it has a 3 off to the side. Yes, this one. So that must be the silver key. And then we need to match this one, which is just a little wiggle to one side. So it's not this one, because that's straight. Let's get rid of that. And this one looks like too much of a wiggle, because this doesn't have a straight line on the bottom, does it? So it must be this. Okay, so our keys, which we have, will open these 3 jam jars. And I don't know what we're doing with him. Let's ignore him for now. I think all the cards probably just have the same thing on the back, A1 to 6. I guess I should check the other 2. Yep, they do. And we have 3 cards. And it says, recently various employees have left their ID cards lying around. If anyone finds one, don't throw it away. Which makes me think that we are keeping this for another day. That's probably what the don't throw it away means. And so we have 3 jars. And this is the fullest, I would say, because of the height of the yellow one. And then they obviously have an order. And they have card numbers, but I don't think that's the number we're looking for. This clearly looks like a 3, but I would say that may be possibly coincidence, because I don't see that these numbers look like anything. It's more like a question mark. And that doesn't look like any number I recognise. But we do have associated with them yellow, purple, green. And what does that have to do with anything? How do we convert those to numbers? So it's actually a relatively complex puzzle, because there's quite a few things involved today. We've already selected the jam jars with the keys, but now we need to find the numbers. And it almost certainly uses the yellow, purple and green, else why are there threads attached to these keys? It's not like the card where the game's told us we probably don't need it in one way or another. But then again, you might also ask, well, why do these shape like numbers? Now, I think that's to distract you. But let's carry on examining these as if they are numbers and ignore these colours for now, which is unlikely to be the correct answer. But it's interesting to see how the calendar's solved, so I'm going to carry on thinking on this line for now. That could be 3, that must be a 2, right? If you were to look at that end on like this, if you were to imagine it rotating in 3D, then you would see, if you held the key with the point of it towards you, then you would see a 2, I think. You'd see a 2 above an upside down 2. And if you held this with a point towards you, facing upwards, with the knobby bit upwards, you'd see a 3. And this one? Is there any way you could hold this to see a number? Conceivably, it could be a 5, but it doesn't really. You have to be using the head bit as well. It's conceivable it's a 5. Shall we say this is 2, 3, 5? I think that's a very dubious 5. But if we said it was 2, 3, 5 and we put them in the order big to small, then we'd have 5, 3, 2 as our first code. So we dial 5, 3, 2 into the centre of the decoder and we turn it over, and this tells us a sequence of moves. So we start at door 1, which is the door we're currently at, which today is door 1, here, and then we go right, because that's the first step, and up left, because that's the next step, and then back down. Okay, so that's definitely incorrect, because we've gone back to where we started, and you need to go to a new door. But also, we should expect to see hexagon, circle, star, if this was the correct door, and we don't. So this is wrong. So we are not seeing a 5, 3, 2 on the ends of the keys. So now we need to think a bit more about what we're doing. So one possible ambiguity is that it says from big to small. And even if we had correctly seen them as 5, 3, 2, then it could be from the number of sweets to the smallest number of sweets. If you did them in that order, then it would be like this. And you would have 3, I'm dubiously calling that 5, and 2. So then we would have 3, 5, 2 from big to small. So although I feel this is probably not correct, we could then try that and see what we get. So we would go right, down, left. Well, we know that's wrong because we've gone off the calendar. So these are not meant to look like 3, 5 and 2 on the end. Or if they are, then I have selected the wrong jars in some way. That actually does look like a 5, the one I haven't used. And this one looks a lot like a 1. So one possibility is that I have done the wrong thing with selecting jars. But I don't feel that's the case. Let's have a look again. We've got these coloured strings, so they must have a use, right? Okay. Right, I worked out what's going on. So I don't need these, and it's not to do with the shapes of the keys that are confusingly, I think. Having that shape like a 3 is a large red herring, I would say, because what we're supposed to be doing clearly is counting, I think clearly, counting the number of sweets of each colour. So on the jar that has the 3, which is this one, we are counting the number of purple sweets, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so 6 is one of our numbers, and currently it's the biggest number, so I'll put it in the top so we don't forget. When I say we, I mean me, clearly. And this one here with the squiggle is the gold, is the bronze key with the green. So we're counting the number of greens. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, well, I have 5 in already. And then here, the last key with the side squiggle, sorry, which is this one, is yellow. So I count the number of yellows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, so I've got 6, 5, 5 because it says big to small. So I think I'm right now. That feels right. I was always dubious about my 5 before, so that was never likely to be correct, really. Because the thing about an answer is you should be reasonably confident it's correct when you get it, and if you're not, then probably you've done the wrong thing. So here we go. Up left, and then helpfully in the way, we go down left. So here we go. Up, left, down left, and then right. And if we're correct, we should see moon, moon, circle. So finally, I managed to solve that puzzle. We know where our door 2 is. So I can write 2 on here, so we know to open it tomorrow. And there we go. That is the calendar for the 1st of December. I hope you enjoyed that, and if you did, please join me tomorrow when I shall open the next door. And please don't forget to subscribe and also like the video and comment. Please do comment. I'd love to see what you think. But also, if you've still got some Christmas shopping to do, then why not take a look at this link up here to my website, drgarethmoore.com. There are so many books I've got available for sale, so many puzzle books from a huge range of publishers, all available on Amazon and elsewhere. One of the best sellers at the moment as I talk is Whodunit. It's a puzzle mystery full of stuff to discover. And if it's still early in Advent when you're watching this, you might also enjoy, you can search on Amazon, it's on the website, for Christmas Story, Advent Calendar ... which is a fun puzzle book that I made a few years back, which takes you through the Christmas story with a big complex, actually, ... puzzle each day. But there we go, that's all I have for today. Do check out the links to my other Advent Calendar solves, those that I did in previous years, and another calendar I'm solving this year. But one way or another, I hope to see you in another video soon. For now, take care and bye.